Good day, everyone. I am Elver Baron, a MAM student. Today, I will discuss how learning is facilitated. So before that, I will show you the hierarchy of in bridging teaching, learning, and philosophy of education. So as what you have seen in the presentation, first we have the approach or the so-called axiomatic or the philosophical. Second, the methods or the procedural. And third is the techniques, strategies, or it could be so-called as the implementational. So there are three elements at work in the classroom. First, it is the approach. So what is approach? Approach is a set of belief systems or philosophy dealing with nature of education or of language learning and teaching. Second is method. Method is an overall plan for systematic presentation of the concept based upon the selected approach. And lastly, technique is specified or the specific activities manifested in the classroom that are consistent with a method and therefore in harmony with an approach. So there are two types of approaches. First, it is constructivism, and the second one is the traditional teaching. So how these two differ from each other? So when we talk about constructivism, the learners are in active, or shall we say, learning is active process. The students bring their prior knowledge forward, and the students share their experience in group and learn from each other. On the other hand, when we talk about traditional teaching, the instructor is the center model, and it is one-way transfer of information. It encourages also memorization, and in traditional teaching, the participation is limited. And we can say that there is no room for thinking and understanding. And next, let us discuss the what are the different kind of constructivism approaches as given in the module. So we have first the language or the whole language, the multiple intelligence, the schema theory, English for specific purposes, discovery learning, reflective teaching and learning, experiential learning, modular. I have also the concept learning, cooperative learning, process approach, the differentiated instruction, and the inquiry-based learning. So under the differentiated instruction, we can tackle about the content, the process, the product, and the learning environment. So first, when we talk about the whole language, it is a method of teaching children to read and recognize words as whole piece of language. So it means that not just only partial but whole. The second one, we talk about the multiple intelligences. It is a theory advocated by Howard Gardner. So there are 9 multiple intelligences, namely, we have musical, linguistic, spatial, logical, mathematical, kinesthetic, interpersonal, intrapersonal, naturalistic, and existential spiritual. I will not explain further about the 9 multiple intelligences because these are common to us. The third one is the schema theory. When we talk about the schema theory, it describes an organized pattern of thoughts or behavior that organize categories of information and relationship among them. Next, we have the English for specific purposes. It is the thrust of this approach is the refinement of the teaching in English for the particular discipline. Next, we have also the discovery learning. So when we talk about discovery learning, it is an active process of inquiry-based instruction that encourage learners to build on prior knowledge. So next, we have the reflective teaching and learning. So when we talk about the reflective teaching and learning, it means that both the teacher and students look closely at what they do in the classroom. Think about why they do it and think about it. So from the word reflective, so they will think, no? Just like we're doing reflection paper, no? Next, we have also the experiential learning. So when we talk about experiential learning, it involves the learning from experiences. And next, we have modular approaches. It is an approach to the design of equipment, system, programs, and the like. Next, we have the concept learning. So concept learning defined as the search for the listing of attributes that can be used to distinguish exemplar from non-exemplars of various categories. Next, we have the process approach. It is the application of the system of the processes. Next, we have the inquiry-based learning. So it starts by posing question, problems, or scenario rather than simply presenting established facts. So from the word inquiry, no, it is always asking question, no? So that is inquiry-based learning. So when we talk about differentiated instruction, it is concise. When we talk about differentiated instruction, it consists of efforts of teacher to respond a variance among learners in the classroom. So there are 4 elements to consider as what I have told a while ago. These are content, the process, the product, and the learning environment. So when we talk about content, it is what the student needs to learn or how the student will get the access to the information. So it is necessary in the differentiated instruction. Why? Because you need to identify your students. What kind of student is this? And what kind of student is this? In that way, you can do the differentiated instruction in terms of content. So kung mga bright ni mga bata, you will give them a content that is suit to them. If kini mga bata medyo hina, then don't give them very lisod nga mga of course mga lisod kaayo nga mga problem. Next, the process. The activities in which the students engage in order to make sense of to master the content. So the process, of course, in differentiated instruction, different process you will give to your student. Okay, as I have also in connection or in relation to the Howard Gardner intelligences, we have different intelligences. Na mga tao, ng mga bata nga bright og math, na mga bata nga bright og English, no? So in the process, managlahi ang process. The product, it is referring to the culminating projects that ask the student to rehearse, apply, and extend when he or she has learned in a unit, no? So of course managlahi pod ang ato nga gi-expect sa kini nga mga bataa niya, lahi pod ato gi-expect ani pod nga mga bataa. And lastly, learning environment. It is the way the classroom works and feels. Managlahi pod, no, ang learning environment ato po nang i-consider when we talk about differentiated instruction. Next, the classification of constructivism is cooperative learning. So, of course, from the word itself, cooperative. So, the teaching method where students of mixed levels of abilities are arranged into group and rewarded according to the group's success, no? So, it is not an individual, but as a group, no? So, they will group together, they will help each other, they will practice cooperation. Next, when we talk about the element of cooperative learning, of course, we need to consider this: face-to-face interaction, the positive interdependence, the individual accountability, the group processing, and the collaborative skills. Of course, no, we need to consider this one. If maghimo ta og grupo, make sure nga na involve ang tanang mga bata. Kay sometimes, we cannot deny the fact that when we do a groupings, mingon din ang mga bata nga ari ko kay bright ni si Kuan. And in that way, magsalig na siya, no? So in cooperative learning, it is important to focus or to give notice to this element in order to become successful in grouping activities, no? There must be a group processing, there must be a collaborative skills. Dili po tapukon tanan nga oy kamo mga kuan na, no? Aron po na enjoy collaboration, no? Managahi nga skills. So those are the constructivism approaches. Now we'll talk about the techniques. What are the techniques anchored on these approaches? Of course, first it is journal writing. The second is role playing. So in order to apply those approaches, we can have the so-called journal writing. In journal writing, the students will do a reflection. He or she will practice his writing ability, and of course, in role playing, they will apply all their intelligences, no? Kung ay mga tao ditong hilig og drama, hilig og sayaw, hilig og kanta, and so on and so forth. So the methods popularly used also in when we talk about in the classroom settings, we have lecture method, the discussion method, the demonstration lesson, brainstorming, role plays, cooperative learning, and the group reporting, no? So those are the three elements I have tackled: the approach, the techniques, and the method. So that's end for today. Thank you so much, and God bless.